You stand today at the threshold of the greatest battle you will ever fight, not against other men, not against the unpredictable tides of the marketplace, not against the forces of chance or fate, but against yourself. This battle is not waged with weapons of steel, but with weapons of thought. And in this war, your greatest enemy is not ignorance nor weakness, but the untamed chaos of your own emotions. If you master this inner domain, you will wield a power so absolute that no setback can destroy you, no insult can wound you, no defeat can define you. If you fail to master it, you will remain a servant to your impulses, a victim to the fluctuations of mood, and a slave to the opinions and actions of others. Understand this truth: the mind is the throne from which all your life is governed. Your emotions are the courtiers that clamor for your attention, each vying for influence over the decisions you make and the destiny you create. If you grant them unchecked authority, they will pull you in 100 different directions, scattering your energy until your purpose lies in ruins. But if you take your rightful seat as ruler of your own inner kingdom, you will harness every thought and every feeling into a unified force that moves you forward with unshakable precision. Napoleon Hill said, "You have absolute control only over one thing, your thoughts. This divine prerogative is the sole means by which you may control your destiny." Consider the man who reacts in anger when insulted, who lashes out when provoked. His power is surrendered to the one who offends him. His mind is no longer his own. It is a puppet pulled by the strings of another's actions. Now contrast him with the man who feels the rising fire of anger but holds it in his grasp, examines it with reason, and chooses his response with deliberate calm. This man has taken command of the invisible machinery of his mind. He has mastered the art of response over reaction, and in that mastery, he is untouchable. Emotional detachment is not coldness. It is not the absence of feeling. It is the refusal to let feeling dictate the course of your life. It is the disciplined separation between stimulus and response, the deliberate pause in which the mind asserts its sovereignty over the body's impulses. The masses believe that to be authentic, one must act on every emotion as it arises. But this is not authenticity. It is enslavement. The lion is not less a lion because it does not roar at every passing sound. The warrior is not less a warrior because he does not strike at every provocation. Power is revealed not in the ease of expression, but in the ability to restrain, to choose, to act only when the moment is ripe and the action is worthy. Definiteness of purpose is the foundation upon which emotional mastery is built. When your life is guided by a single, clear, unwavering aim, distractions lose their grip on you. Petty insults cannot touch you because they are irrelevant to your mission. Temporary setbacks cannot sway you because you have charted a course that extends far beyond them. Without a definite purpose, the mind is like a ship without a rudder, tossed about by the winds of emotion and the currents of circumstance. But with a definite purpose, every thought and every feeling is measured against one question: does this serve my mission? If the answer is no, it is dismissed without hesitation. Self-discipline is the next fortress wall in your inner citadel. It is the daily training of your mind to obey the commands of reason, not the demands of impulse. Self-discipline is forged in the small choices rising when the alarm sounds rather than lingering in comfort, speaking with restraint when provoked rather than indulging in anger, staying the course on your work when the world tempts you with distraction. Each act of discipline strengthens your capacity to detach from fleeting emotions and act in accordance with principle. Hill wrote, "Self-discipline begins with the mastery of thought. If you do not control your thoughts, you cannot control your needs, your desires, your destiny." You must also understand the law of autosuggestion, the process by which the mind shapes reality through repeated thought. The thoughts you dwell upon become the architects of your emotional state. If you habitually feed your mind with visions of failure, injustice, or grievance, you will find yourself perpetually chained to bitterness and fear. But if you train your mind to dwell upon success, mastery, and inner peace, those emotions will become your constant companions. The mind, once trained, becomes a faithful servant, summoning the emotions that serve your purpose and dismissing those that do not. Accurate thinking is another weapon in this arsenal. Emotional reactivity often springs from distorted perception from assumptions, rumors, and incomplete truths. The disciplined mind refuses to accept impressions without verification. It asks, is this fact or opinion? Is this true, or is it merely someone's interpretation? By filtering reality through the lens of accurate thinking, you strip away the illusions that provoke unnecessary emotion. You see events as they are, not as fear or anger would paint them. This clarity robs destructive emotions of their fuel. The man who masters his mind and emotions possesses a calmness that others cannot understand. In the midst of chaos, his demeanor is steady. In the face of insult, his eyes remain clear. In the depths of setback, his resolve does not waver. This calmness is not passivity. It is power in its purest form, the power to choose one's internal state regardless of external conditions. It is the strength of a fortress that no storm can breach. If you would join the ranks of the truly great, you must adopt the principle of mental neutrality. This is the practice of approaching every circumstance without immediate judgment, without the reflex to label it as good or bad. You receive events as they are, gather the facts, and decide upon your response with deliberate thought. The emotionally reactive man sees misfortune and crumbles. The detached man sees the same event and asks, how can this serve me? What advantage can I wrest from it? In this way, he transforms adversity into opportunity. And so, I tell you, your success will not be determined by what happens to you, but by how you govern what happens within you. If you allow emotions to govern your actions, you forfeit your power. But if you command your thoughts, you command your future. The world will test you with insult, with rejection, with failure. It will tempt you with praise, with comfort, with distraction. Both the pleasant and the unpleasant are traps for the undisciplined mind. Detach yourself from the need to be flattered and from the fear of being criticized, and you will stand free. The call before you is not an easy one. It demands vigilance, training, and a willingness to confront the most difficult opponent you will ever face, your own ungoverned self. But know this: once you have mastered emotional detachment, once you have disciplined your mind to serve only your definite purpose, there is no force on earth that can stop you. You will move through life with the precision of a man guided by an unerring compass, the strength of a fortress that cannot be breached, and the serenity of one who walks in complete command of himself. The crown of mastery is yours for the taking, but it will not be handed to you. You must seize it through the daily practice of mental discipline, the relentless pursuit of accurate thought, and the unwavering choice to remain the ruler of your inner world. Control your mind, and you will control your emotions. Control your emotions, and you will control your destiny. And when you have done this, you will discover the rarest of all victories, the victory over self, which is the foundation of all other victories. The mind, when left to drift, is a vessel without a captain. The waves of impulse, the tides of fear, the winds of desire, these will carry it aimlessly until it smashes upon the rocks of regret. Yet when the mind is seized, claimed, and ruled with an iron hand, it becomes the greatest instrument of creation the world has ever known. You may not command the seasons. You may not command the marketplace. You may not command the will of another, but you can command yourself. And in that mastery lies the power to bend the external world to your will. Emotional detachment is the gatekeeper of this mastery. Without it, the door to mental discipline remains locked, and no amount of ambition can force it open. To detach is not to flee from feeling, but to stand above it, to see anger rising and not be swept away, to feel fear, grip your chest, and yet proceed with steady steps, to taste the sweetness of praise but not become intoxicated. Imagine a general on the battlefield who charges at every noise, who chases every small enemy without thought of the larger strategy. That general will lose the war before the second sunrise. Now imagine the commander who, though his heart races, remains still upon the hill, studying the field, choosing his moment with deadly precision. That is the posture you must adopt toward your own emotions. Definiteness of purpose is the compass that prevents your detachment from becoming drift. A detached mind without a definite aim is like a fortress without a mission. It stands, but for no reason. Your aim must be so clear, so defined, that every thought and every emotion is evaluated in its light. When anger comes, ask, will this serve my purpose? When fear whispers, turn back, ask, does this align with my mission? If it does not, dismiss it. Do not entertain it. This filtering process is not occasional. It must be as constant as the beating of your heart, for every moment you live is a moment when a rogue emotion may try to seize the throne. Self-discipline is the sword that enforces this rule. Discipline is forged in quiet moments when no one watches the refusal to indulge in the comfort that delays your mission, the choice to rise when every fiber of your body begs for rest. The act of holding your tongue when speaking would give away your position. The undisciplined man is ruled by the moment. The disciplined man is ruled by the plan. And because the plan was born of accurate thinking and definite purpose, it cannot be swayed by the mood of the day. But there is another truth one few will tell you, that in mastering your emotions, you will also master the emotions of others. For when you cannot be provoked, you become the most dangerous player in any contest. Those around you will test you, consciously or unconsciously, to see if you can be baited, if you can be made to act against yourself. The moment they discover you cannot, you command a respect that cannot be faked. You become the calm eye in the center of every storm, and all others, whether allies or adversaries, will look to you for direction. To develop this detachment, begin by watching yourself as if you were another person. When anger rises, note it as you would note a passing cloud. There is anger. When fear presses upon you, name it without judgment. There is fear. In this naming, you create distance, and in that distance lies power. Over time, the gap between stimulus and your response will grow. In that gap, you will place reason, and reason will decide your course, not the rush of blood, not the sting of pride, not the fever of desire. Accurate thinking will sharpen this power. Do not allow rumors, half-truths, or the opinions of the masses to form the foundation of your decisions. The undisciplined mind reacts to shadows as if they were giants. The disciplined mind seeks the light to see what is truly there. Before you grant an emotion the right to influence you, examine the facts. Ask, what is actually happening? What are the verified truths? What are the distortions of perception? You will find that most storms in the mind are born from falsehoods and vanish when confronted by reality. And yet I tell you, the greatest enemy you will face is not external but internal. It is the voice that says, this is too hard. This vigilance is exhausting. Why not relax and let things be? That voice is the slow poison of mediocrity. It will dress itself as kindness, telling you to be gentle with yourself. But understand this, there is a vast difference between self-compassion and self-indulgence. One strengthens you, the other weakens you. True self-compassion is found in discipline. It is in giving yourself the life you desire, not the fleeting comfort of a moment. When you live by these principles, you enter a rare class of human being, the class of those who are not driven by the chaos around them, but who drive their own course through it. You will begin to see the frantic emotionalism of others for what it is, a sickness of the undisciplined. You will neither despise them nor imitate them. You will simply recognize that your path is different, and in this recognition you will find peace. The world will call you cold. Let them, for they mistake the absence of reactivity for the absence of humanity. In truth, you will feel deeper than they do, because you will not be numbed by constant reaction. You will choose when and how to feel, and in that choice, your emotions will have greater depth, greater richness, greater clarity, and so I say, detach, discipline, decide. Repeat this until it is the very fabric of your being. In time, you will no longer be a man or woman struggling to master emotion. You will be the master, and the struggle will be a memory. The throne of your mind will be yours, and your reign will be one of unshakable calm, unstoppable action, and undeniable success. You must understand from the very beginning that the ordinary world will resist this path. It will not applaud your detachment. It will misinterpret your composure as arrogance, your silence as judgment, your discipline as severity. The masses live in a constant flood of unfiltered emotion. They measure life by the immediacy of their feelings, and anything outside that current feels alien. You must not expect their approval, for their approval is given most freely to those who mirror their weakness. This is why definiteness of purpose is not merely the first step, but the anchor that will keep you from being dragged back into the sea of mediocrity. A mind without a chief aim is like a fortress with every gate open, a treasury with no guards, anything, and everything can enter and claim dominion. But once you fix your purpose with the precision of a compass point, you begin to sift the world through a single filter, Does this serve the mission? If yes, it remains. If no, it is cast aside without debate. This is not cruelty, it is clarity. The world will tempt you with thousands of lesser goals. Only your aim will protect you from scattering your energy until nothing remains. Self-discipline is the law that enforces that clarity. Without it, even the finest purpose is a dead letter. Discipline is not merely about forcing yourself to act. It is about forming the kind of mind that cannot be seduced away from the path. It is the habit of holding to the plan when the novelty wears off, of rising to the task when comfort calls louder than duty, of biting back the word that would betray your strategy. It is the refusal to be governed by moods, for moods are like the weather, forever changing, sometimes bright, sometimes stormy, always passing. The disciplined mind is a fortress built to stand through every season unaltered by the passing clouds. To master emotion, you must first observe it. This is the law of mental neutrality. Before you judge, before you react, before you move, see. Watch the emotion rise as you might watch the tide. Notice its pull, its urgency, the way it tries to disguise itself as truth. The undisciplined man sees through the eyes of the emotion itself. The disciplined man steps outside and looks at it as an object. And when you can see your emotion as a separate thing, you are no longer its prisoner. You may use it, or you may set it aside, but you will not be compelled. There is an ancient law, Hill spoke of it, though in other words, that says, "He who can wait rules." The man who can outweight his opponent, outweight the crowd, outweight his own impulses, will have an advantage so absolute it feels like destiny. Emotional detachment is patience armed with vision. While others rush to act under the whip of feeling, you will act at the appointed time. While they are blinded by insult or seduced by praise, you will see clearly, for you will not be moved. Autosuggestion is your silent training ground. You cannot wait for discipline to appear in the heat of battle. You must plant it deep through repetition in the calm hours. Speak to yourself with authority, for your mind believes the voice it hears most often. Feed it commands. I control my thoughts. I govern my emotions. I act with purpose. I am unmoved by insult, unseduced by flattery. I choose my response. Do not think this practice trivial. Every leader who has held power over men first held power over himself through deliberate mental conditioning. The mind, fed the same truth daily, will make that truth its reflex. Accurate thinking will protect you from one of the greatest thieves of mental control, false interpretation. Many a man has destroyed his fortune, his reputation, or his relationships because he reacted to something that was never real, a word misheard, an intention misread, a situation only half understood. The disciplined mind investigates before it judges. It asks for evidence, it checks the source, it separates fact from opinion. In doing this, you will find that half the battles you are tempted to fight vanish the moment the light of truth touches them. You must also learn the economy of energy. Every act of emotional reactivity is an expense, and every expense must be paid from the finite treasury of your daily strength. To waste energy on what does not serve your aim is not merely unwise, it is a betrayal of your mission. Guard your energy as you would guard gold. For every drop of it spent on rage, resentment, or envy is stolen from the work that would have brought you closer to victory. Consider the example of the craftsman at his bench, carving the same line 100 times with absolute precision. The world sees monotony. He sees mastery. Why? Because he is not driven by the feeling of the moment. He is driven by the vision of the completed work. His hands move not in response to boredom or excitement, but in obedience to the plan. So must your mind act not in obedience to the rise and fall of emotion, but in loyalty to the pattern you have chosen. And here is the truth that will separate you from almost all men. Mastery of self is mastery of circumstances. The winds of fate may blow, the markets may rise or fall, allies may betray, enemies may advance, but if your mind remains steady, you will bend circumstance to your will. For the world belongs not to those who are merely intelligent, nor merely strong, but to those whose inner state cannot be broken. In time, you will see the transformation. Insults that once ignited, you will pass like distant thunder. Praise that once intoxicated, you will taste like clear water, pleasant but not essential. You will walk into rooms where others are frantic, and without a word, you will steady the air. People will not know why, but they will feel it. They will sense that you are ungoverned by the chaos that governs them. That sense will draw opportunity to you, as iron is drawn to a magnet. When this happens, remain humble. Detachment is not an excuse for arrogance, and discipline is not a license for contempt. Your mastery is a tool, not a crown to parade. Use it to lift your work to the highest level, to carry yourself through the storms without faltering, to lead without being swayed by the passions of the crowd. And never forget, mastery is not a moment. It is a state maintained by daily vigilance. The mind, like a garden, will grow weeds if left untended. The moment you cease to watch, emotions will creep back in to claim the throne. This is why you must live your code daily, not when it is convenient, not when you feel like it, but every day, in every act, until it is no longer something you do, but something you are. Because if you control your mind, you control your emotions. If you control your emotions, you control your destiny. And once destiny is yours to command, nothing and no one can stand before you for long. First, let us confront the enemy without disguise. Your greatest obstacle is not the storm outside, but the storm within. It is the twitch of irritation when challenged, the swell of fear before a decisive move, the hunger for recognition that distracts you from the work, the lazy drift into comfort when pain is required. These are not isolated moments. They are the invisible chains that bind the average person from birth to death. The majority never notice them. They believe this reactivity is just the way they are. You will not make that mistake. For you, self-mastery begins with seeing the mind as a kingdom, your kingdom. Every thought is a subject, every emotion a minister, every habit a law. If you are not the sovereign of this realm, then some other force is habit, fear, desire, the influence of others. And when something else governs your kingdom, your life is no longer yours. You are merely a puppet dancing to the strings of whatever impulse pulls hardest. This is why definiteness of purpose must become the royal decree of your reign. Without a definite aim, the mind is like a city with open gates. Every passing wanderer can enter, every charlatan can set up a stall in the market, every thief can plunder the treasury. But when the gates are guarded by the question, does this serve my mission? Then nothing gains entry unless it strengthens your position. This single discipline will eliminate 90% of the emotional chaos that plagues most lives, for nearly all distraction comes from what is irrelevant to your aim. But let me be clear, knowing your purpose is not enough. Many men and women have declared noble aims, yet their lives are littered with abandoned projects, wasted years, and half-built empires. Why? Because they lacked the enforcement arm of discipline. Purpose is the map. Discipline is the army that protects it from being stolen. Discipline is the decision, made once and kept daily, that you will act not according to your moods, but according to your mission. This means you will work when tired, speak with restraint when provoked, and persist when every nerve in your body begs for relief. And yet, there is a still higher principle, without which even discipline can become brittle and shatter under strain: emotional detachment. Detachment is not the killing of feeling. It is the refusal to let feeling become your commander. It is the ability to see your own anger rising like smoke from a fire and not throw yourself into the flames. It is the skill of watching fear knock at your door and deciding whether to open or let it stand outside until it fades. It is the art of hearing praise without letting it rewrite your strategy, and criticism without letting it corrode your confidence. Think of it as the space between the spark and the fire. The undisciplined mind reacts instantly. The disciplined, detached mind inserts a pause in which thought can interrogate the feeling. Is this accurate? Does it serve my aim? Will it matter in a week, a month, a year? In that pause lies your crown. In that pause, you are no longer the servant of the moment, you are the master of it. Now, understand this. Emotions are not your enemy. They are powerful forces, capable of fueling achievement, courage, and vision. But they are like wild stallions, magnificent when guided, destructive when let loose. The aim is not to silence emotion, but to harness it. Anger, when mastered, becomes drive. Fear, when examined, becomes strategy. Desire, when refined, becomes vision. Left unchecked, they destroy. Guided by purpose, they build empires. This is where autosuggestion enters as your constant ally. The mind cannot be left to decide its nature day by day. It must be trained deliberately, repetitively, relentlessly. You must become the craftsman of your own mental state, chiseling away weakness and engraving strength into your subconscious. Morning and night, in moments of silence, you will repeat the truths you wish to govern you. I control my mind. My emotions serve me. They do not command me. I choose my response. Nothing external has power over my inner state. Over time, these truths cease to be statements and become reflexes. But you must also wield the discipline of accurate thinking, for without it, even detachment can falter. Accurate thinking demands evidence before judgment. It separates fact from opinion, truth from rumor. It asks, who is the source? What is the proof? What is missing from this picture? It prevents you from reacting to shadows, from building strategies on illusions. Without accurate thinking, the mind becomes a courtroom where emotions are both the witnesses and the judge, and you will lose every case. As you practice these principles, you will find a strange transformation taking place. Where once you felt pulled in a dozen directions, you will now feel a straightening, as if all your inner forces are aligning toward one target. Where once you felt drained by constant reaction, you will feel a reservoir of energy growing within you. You will move through situations that once rattled you with the calmness of a chess master who sees 5 moves ahead. People will notice it, though they may not name it. They will say you seem centered, focused, in control. What they are sensing is your sovereignty over yourself. Do not mistake this for the end of the work. Mastery is not a summit. It is a fortress that must be guarded daily. The moment you let down the drawbridge, when you stop questioning your impulses, when you stop feeding your mind with truth, when you let your purpose blur, your sovereignty begins to slip away. The weeds of old habits will return if you cease to tend the garden. And yet, if you keep the watch, if you live with the awareness that your inner world is your only true kingdom, then no loss, no betrayal, no storm can dethrone you. You will move through victories without arrogance and through defeats without despair. You will live not as a leaf blown by the wind, but as the wind itself choosing its direction, setting its own course. And I tell you now, as Hill himself might have leaned forward to say in a low, certain tone, once you have tasted this power, you will never give it up. For it is the one possession that cannot be taken from you. Lands can be seized, titles revoked, fortunes lost, but the mind you have mastered, the emotions you command, the destiny you direct, these are yours until your final breath. For we are no longer in the territory of theory or inspiration. We have crossed into the realm of transformation, and transformation demands total immersion. If you remain here with me, you will not merely hear these words. You will carry them like a code, a private constitution that governs your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions until mastery becomes not something you strive for, but something you are. Understand this now. Emotional detachment, mental discipline, and sovereignty over the inner world are not 3 separate skills. They are one, indivisible. You cannot truly detach without discipline, for detachment requires the will to step back when the mind screams to rush forward. You cannot sustain discipline without detachment, for the moment you let emotion dictate your will, your discipline fractures. And you cannot rule your inner world without both. For your thoughts and feelings are the subjects of your kingdom left unruled. They will crown themselves in your place. The average man lives in servitude to the sequence of stimulus and reaction. Something happens, he feels, he acts. The gap between the external event and his action is so small that it might as well not exist. This is the life of the untrained. His happiness, his peace, his choices are all in the hands of forces outside himself. The weather changes, and so does his mood. Someone speaks ill of him, and his day is ruined. A desire arises, and he abandons his plan to chase it. He calls this living, but it is only existing at the mercy of circumstance. The master, by contrast, has expanded that gap between stimulus and action into a vast field, a space where thought can examine, weigh, and decide. Something happens, and he observes. He feels, but he does not obey. He considers, compares against his aim, and then acts or does not act. In this gap lies all his power, for here he is free from the tyranny of reflex. This is what I call the throne moment. for it is the moment in which you either rule yourself or are ruled by yourself. You must train for this moment daily, for in the beginning your mind will rebel. It has grown accustomed to ruling you, and it will test you. It will whisper, "This reaction is justified. This feeling must be acted upon. This time is different." You must meet these temptations with the steel of principle, not the softness of excuse. And the principle is always this: no thought or emotion commands me unless it serves my definite purpose. Definiteness of purpose, then, is the law by which all inner citizens are judged. Every thought, every urge, every surge of feeling is brought before the court of your mind and asked one question: does this serve the mission? If yes, it is given the full power of your focus and energy. If no, it is dismissed without debate. In time, this court will become so efficient that thoughts and emotions will begin to self-select before they reach your conscious attention. Your mind will grow hostile to what is irrelevant, and you will find that distractions no longer even knock at the door. Now, there is a misunderstanding about emotional detachment that must be destroyed here and now. Detachment is not apathy, nor is it numbness. The detached man feels deeply, more deeply than the reactive man, because he feels with clarity. He is not blinded by the smoke of his own reactivity. He can look at an emotion as one might look at a precious stone, turning it in his hand, seeing all its facets, and deciding how to use it. When joy comes, he drinks from it fully, but he does not abandon his work to chase more of it. When pain comes, he studies it, learns from it, and uses it to sharpen his endurance. He is a master craftsman of feeling, not its victim. To achieve this mastery, you must cultivate the habit of observation. At first, do not try to change your reactions. Only notice them. When anger rises, say within yourself, "There is anger." When anxiety comes, say, "There is fear." When pride swells, say, "There is vanity." In naming them, you create space. You move from being inside the emotion to standing beside it. Once you can stand beside it, you can decide whether to let it in, to send it away, or to channel it toward your aim. Autosuggestion is the forge where this habit is strengthened. Your subconscious mind is the most loyal servant you will ever have, but it obeys only what it hears repeatedly. If you leave it to the noise of the world, it will serve the world's agenda. But if you feed it your own words, it will serve yours. Repeat to yourself daily and with conviction, "I am the master of my mind. I am the ruler of my emotions. I respond with purpose. Nothing external has power over my inner state." At first, this may feel like an aspiration. In time, it will feel like a fact, and eventually, it will become an unbreakable law within you. But discipline must be present, for without it, all the affirmations in the world dissolve under pressure. Discipline is the armor you wear into battle each day. It is the decision to rise when you promised yourself you would rise, to complete the work when you said you would complete it, to remain silent when you said you would hold your tongue. Each act of kept discipline sends a message to your mind. I am in command. And with every message, your command grows more absolute. Accurate thinking is your sword. The emotionally reactive man fights ghosts, false interpretations, imagined slights, exaggerated dangers. The master fights only what is real, and therefore wins more with less effort. To think accurately, demand evidence. Question every impulse. Ask, is this true or is this my assumption? Whose interest is served if I believe this? By clearing away the illusions, you clear away the triggers that would otherwise pull you into unplanned reaction. In time, you will notice a profound change in your energy. Emotional reactivity is exhausting. It drains the mind and body with every spike of feeling. But detachment preserves energy, and discipline directs it. You will have more to give to your work, more to invest in your vision, more to endure in pursuit of your aim. You will become like a river that flows steadily, cutting through rock not with sudden floods, but with constant, unwavering force. The world will test you. It will insult you to see if you can be provoked. It will praise you to see if you can be seduced. It will offer comfort to see if you will abandon your post. Each test is an opportunity to prove to yourself, not to them, that you are sovereign. Pass enough of these tests, and you will reach a point where no one can move you without your consent. And here's the final truth for this section. Mastery is not a gift. It is a debt you pay to yourself daily. The debt is paid in observation, in discipline, in detachment, in accurate thinking, in purpose kept clear and bright. Pay it each day, and you live free. Neglect it, and you return to chains. Let us begin with the first law of the inner citadel. Your mind is neutral until you give it orders. Thought does not arrive with morality attached. Emotion does not arrive with strategy attached. They are raw materials. It is the conscious mind's role to take these raw materials and direct them toward your definite purpose. Imagine a blacksmith's forge. Metal arrives as a shapeless mass. In the hands of a master, it becomes a sword. In the hands of a fool, it becomes a weapon that injures its wielder. Your emotions are the molten metal of your life. They will either be shaped into tools or left to burn you where you stand. This brings us to the second law. Command the gap between impulse and action. This is the throne moment I spoke of earlier. All human failure begins in the collapse of this gap. All human mastery begins in its expansion. The untrained mind feels and moves at once. The trained mind feels, evaluates, chooses, and then moves or refuses to move. This is not hesitation. It is controlled readiness. The warrior who strikes too quickly often falls into the enemy's trap. The one who waits for the right opening wins with one decisive blow. Your life is a sequence of such blows. The third law is the law of purpose filtering. No thought, no emotion, no action survives in my kingdom unless it serves my mission. This law demands that your purpose is so defined, so vividly understood, that you can measure everything against it instantly. Without this law, detachment decays into aimless stillness. Purpose gives you the standard. Discipline enforces it. Detachment ensures nothing, bypasses it. The fourth law is the law of emotional alchemy. Every emotion is energy. Its value depends on your use of it. You must reject the false division of good and bad emotions. Anger, fear, desire, all are fuel when directed. The key is transmutation. Anger becomes drive when aimed at solving the problem rather than punishing the cause. Fear becomes foresight when used to identify and prepare for real dangers. Desire becomes vision when elevated from fleeting wants to lasting aims. This alchemy is the secret work of the inner sovereign turning lead into gold, not in a furnace, but in the mind. The fifth law is the law of mental neutrality. Events are not good or bad until you declare them so. The reactive man stamps judgment on events the moment they occur. He wins a sum of money and declares it good, then wastes it because he never considered its true use. He suffers a setback and declares it bad, never seeing the opportunity it contains. The neutral mind waits. It gathers facts, weighs long-term consequences, and only then decides the label, and often the label is strategic, not emotional. The sixth law is the law of autosuggestion. The mind becomes what it hears most often from you or from others. If you are not programming yourself, you are being programmed. The subconscious is a sponge. It does not choose what to absorb, only what is repeated. If the repetition is yours, it will serve you. If the repetition is from the noise of the world, you will serve it. This is why daily declarations are not superstition, they are sovereignty in practice. The seventh law is the law of accurate thinking. React only to reality, not to rumor, assumption, or incomplete truth. Half of emotional chaos comes from fighting battles that do not exist. Accurate thinking forces you to demand evidence. It strips away the illusions that fuel unnecessary reactions. In its place, you deal with what is not what you imagine, not what you fear, not what you hope. The eighth law is the law of energy economy. Every reaction spends energy. Every act of restraint preserves it. Emotional reactivity is an open wound. It bleeds your energy away. Detachment is a sealed armor. It keeps your energy where it belongs. When you stop reacting to what does not matter, you find you have a reservoir of force to apply to what does. The ninth law is the law of daily vigilance. Mastery is not permanent. It is maintained. The mind is a garden. Leave it untended for a season, and weeds will reclaim it. Detachment must be practiced. Discipline must be exercised. Purpose must be reviewed, and accurate thinking must be sharpened daily. This is why the truly sovereign man never graduates from self-discipline. He knows it is not a skill, but a state, and all states can decay if neglected. The 10th law, and the crown of all the others, is the law of the inner throne. He who rules himself cannot be ruled by another. when your emotions serve you, when your discipline is unbroken, when your thinking is accurate and your energy is conserved, there is no lever by which another can move you without your consent. This is true freedom, not the absence of chains on your body, but the absence of chains on your mind. If you live by these laws, you will move through the world like a force of nature, steady, deliberate, immune to the storms that drive others to ruin. Your calm will be mistaken for mystery. Your silence will be mistaken for depth. Your restraint will be mistaken for infinite patience. These are not accidents, they are the shadows cast by mastery. From here, we can go further still into the training regimens, daily practices, and situational strategies that turn these laws from philosophy into reflex, so that in the heat of life you do not think to act this way, you simply act, because it is who you have become. This will require breaking down each law into its drills, its tests, and its real-world applications until your mastery is not dependent on willpower alone, but supported by habit, structure, and automatic mental command. Drill for the first law directing neutral thought. Begin each morning by sitting in absolute stillness for 5 minutes. During this time, observe your thoughts without attaching judgment or action. As they arise, identify them: planning, worry, memory, desire. Do not fight them. Name them, then return to stillness. This strengthens the awareness that thoughts are raw material. You decide what they become. Over weeks, you will notice you no longer jump into every thought as it appears. You will have begun the work of the sovereign, choosing what enters the treasury. Drill for the second law commanding the gap. Throughout the day, when a stimulus provokes you, an insult, an inconvenience, a temptation, practice a 3-count pause. 1. Acknowledge the emotion. 2. Ask, does this serve my mission? 3. Choose your action even if the choice is inaction. Over time, the pause becomes natural. In that pause, you hold your crown. Drill for the third law, purpose filtering. Write your definite purpose in a single sentence, sharp as a blade. Keep it where your eyes can land upon it: desk, phone, mirror. Before every major action, look at it and ask, does this advance me toward this aim? If not, you know what to do. Dismiss it without remorse. Drill for the fourth law, emotional alchemy. When a strong emotion arises, channel it immediately into motion that serves your purpose. Anger, pour it into focused work. Fear, turn it into planning and preparation. Desire, transmute it into long-term vision. You must never allow high energy to dissipate into nothing. It must be captured and redirected. Drill for the fifth law, mental neutrality. When faced with events, resist the immediate urge to label them good or bad. Instead say, we will see. This opens the space for strategic judgment. Many defeats hide victories. Many victories hide traps. The neutral mind discovers both before committing to the next move. Drill for the sixth law, autosuggestion. Morning and night, speak to yourself the identity you are forging, not the one you have, the one you command to exist. I rule my mind. I govern my emotions. I act with discipline. I see reality clearly. Nothing external moves me without my consent. Do not recite mechanically speak as if issuing orders to an army that will obey. Drill for the seventh law, accurate thinking. Before reacting, demand 3 verifiable facts about the situation. Until you have them, you do not move. This alone will eliminate most wasted reactions, for most provocations dissolve when stripped of assumption. Drill for the eighth law, energy economy. Track, at the end of the day, where your emotional energy went. Was it spent on your mission or on distractions? Like a financial audit, this daily reckoning will reveal where you leak power and where you must seal the breach. Drill for the ninth law, daily vigilance. Choose a time each evening to review your performance. Ask, where did I act as sovereign? Where did I surrender the throne? The goal is not guilt, it is adjustment. You are not punishing the mind, you are training it. Drill for the 10th law, inner throne. Visualize yourself as the ruler of a vast kingdom. Every thought and feeling enters your throne room. You do not stand for them, they stand for you. You choose which to employ, which to dismiss, which to hold in reserve. The more vividly you see this, the more naturally you will live it. Apply these drills daily, and the laws will cease to be abstractions. They will embed into the marrow of your mind until you no longer try to control yourself. You simply are in control. And now we approach the point where the sovereign must look upon his own domain and accept the full weight of his power. For power is not the absence of opposition, it is the capacity to face it without surrender. The storms will still come. The world will still provoke, seduce, and distract. But you will no longer be a man or woman caught in the wind. You will be the stone in its path. This is the final truth, and it must be spoken without softness. If you do not take command of your mind, someone else will. If you do not master your emotions, they will be mastered for you by forces that care nothing for your purpose. The choice is not between mastery and neutrality, it is between mastery and servitude. So take your throne, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, now. Speak the law to yourself, enforce it through discipline, sharpen it with accurate thinking, feed it through autosuggestion, preserve it with daily vigilance. The moment you live by it, you will sense it, the shift, the calm, the absolute knowledge that nothing moves in your kingdom without your permission. And when you have reached that state, you will understand what few ever do, that the greatest victory in life is not over others, it is over yourself. And from that victory flows every other. For the one who rules himself is already, in truth, a king.